obviously a lot of the news over the last couple of weeks. Again, we weren't live last week for the regular show. Is There's been a lot of news, changing news regularly about the COVID-19 and the WWE and AEW and things like that. So over the last couple of weeks, obviously, there's been a lot of rumors. There's been some WWE superstars that have tested
There's an old
positive.
logo.
Yeah, that is an old logo.
I still have. I actually just found my Big Jim Sports shirt the other day.
There it is. That's awesome. I have them. Mine's got to be buried somewhere. Um, the known positives in the WWE that we know of are Renee Young, Jamie Noble, Adam Pearce, and Kayla Braxton, who apparently has tested positive twice. Um, don't know. Didn't know that
Third time's
was.
the charm, guys.
Didn't know
Third
that
time's
was
the
a
charm.
thing. Now then again, one of them could have been a false positive, which has been a problem with some tests. So there's no guarantee that she's actually been infected twice.
I don't know.
There's been rumors of what has been reported dozens or more, 30 or more, between talent, producers, etc. But we know of those four. Uh, Now the WWE is conducting regular testing. The family and friends as fans has been discontinued with the WWE. They had more testing earlier this week ahead of the Great American Bash tapings, which the first episode aired last night. And now WWE has indicated that social distancing, masks, and other measures will be mandatory moving forward. And if you've looked in the crowd for the last, I think it was SmackDown, Raw, and NXT last night, and just as we said 2 weeks ago here, you have the masks on the shop site. It's an easy merch push as well. But they are now wearing them around the ring. So I mean, there obviously with only 4 known positives. I mean, the bottom line is, and we had talked about it before, is the WWE could have been doing this better for a while. They absolutely could have. And unfortunately, what happened is employees started getting sick and almost kind of derailed everything. And you're also in an unfortunate situation where Florida is just, I mean, exploding in terms of cases. They had over 10,000 new cases today. So both AEW and WWE, are taping in the state of Florida. So it's a scary situation. It's a but the thing if there's not, it sounds weird to say anything good coming out of this, but is the fact that WWE, because of their own missteps at best, failure at worst, they've kind of been forced to have to test now. So that's kind of a thing that's happening, and they're wearing masks and whatever. So there's not a whole lot to discuss unless you guys want to give your thoughts on just kind of the WWE's kind of mishandling of the whole situation.
I think it was mishandled. I mean, it is what it is. You can correct it from where you're at, or you can just pretend it's not an issue. I think a lot of Americans in general, once things started to open up, hoped and wished that this coronavirus was going away, and kind of got lulled into a false sense of security. And we are seeing right now the results of that. Of people flooding beaches, people not social distancing in stores, people fighting, hugging orders to wear masks. Just
Austin Aries, like
I'm
low key
from it myself. I hate even wasting time talking about it.
Yeah.
I'm just at that point. Like wrestling, it was my escape from that bullshit, and now it's part of until they figure out how to do it safely or whatever. And I get Fox probably has some sort of mandates and rules.
Oh yeah.
TNT wants new live episode. I get that, but come on, there's got to be something that somebody can do.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think wrestling was just kind of the one testing the waters sooner than everyone else. And they fell into the whole, hey, come on in, water's great situation. Everyone just kind of dove in, and now we're seeing that. And as more people were getting in, wrestling tried to swim further out from shore. And it, you know, it's just kind of a mess now. So I think we're going to be taking a few steps back, unfortunately. But it's going to be the right decision to make. And it's a shame because I think we were kind of getting close at one point to, where we could kind of test the waters out and, just, you know, not to get political, but, certain people didn't want to hear that. So, when I go into a Walmart or a Lowe's or a grocery store and I just see people without masks, it's just kind of tells me, who really does care about,
Right.
getting back to normal life and who just wants to do what they want to do.
Watch the world burn.
Right. So it is unfortunate. I think we all kind of were relying heavily on WWE to just kind of give us that escape because we weren't getting anywhere else. And they just pushed it too far. I think they had a pretty good plan in place to start. And then, like, as things happened, they were just like, well, let's try this. And they should have just stayed the course. And unfortunately didn't.
Yeah, and I mean, and I, trust me, and I've come around and I've agreed with everybody that the shows that have had, wrestlers in the crowd as quote unquote fans, it's a, it comes across better than without, because we're used to watching it with a full arena full of crowd. But like, man, if WWE could have kind of stayed the course with the empty arena, I'm not saying they would have dodged everything, but I feel like once they kind of went with the AEW model, then they kind of started bringing in like the friends and family thing, and then things just kind of got out of hand. Now, I guess last night AEW had the wrestlers at ringside. They had people in the crowd, friends and family, up in like the amphitheater. And there was a report today that some of them may only have had the temperature check and questionnaire when they came in. Now the people closer to ringside were actually tested. The people further away, they never got up close. And they were apparently like they weren't sitting next to each other. It was kind of, a bunch of seats around. So it was, people were kind of isolated to themselves. But to me, because everybody's wanted to point the finger at WWE. Don't get me wrong, WWE has done it wrong for longer. So, they're not without blame, but also, AEW is not without blame either. And so it's just, it sucks. It really does. It sucks. It's a crappy thing. Yeah, Nikki says she works at Walmart and customers there are without masks, which, and that's, for me, I've been just about as isolated as possible. But when I do go out, I mean, even if I go for a drive, I take a mask in case something happens with my car or, I'm going to be protected. But, yeah, Charlie asked, and I had this down. I don't know if you guys saw any of the Wednesday night shows last night. But Taz kind of, man, he fired a shot straight across the bow. He was obviously talking about, because the Moxley versus Brian Cage match is supposed to be, I believe, next week at Fyter Fest. It has been bumped back because John Moxley, of course, married to Renee Young, who is COVID positive. So that match, Brian Cage, has been moved back to 2 weeks from last night at Fight for the Fallen. So Taz, in his promo, took a shot saying, in part, if you decide to get your ass here to work next week, you would get tested again, because he talked about the two tests that he's already had tested negative. And he said, because, John, as you know, we do not run a sloppy ship. Obviously referring to WWE. Pro Wrestling Observer late last night, many in AEW were not happy with the shot that Taz took at WWE. And like, here's the thing, and I tweeted this last night, and it because it's been a common theme. If at any point WWE has taken a shot, whether it's Triple H in the Hall of Fame speech, having fun with Billy Gunn, there's been other things at points. There's a lot of people that are like, why is WWE got to be the bully picking on AEW? But then like people loved what Taz said last night. I love it both ways. Like if everybody wanted to talk about Wednesday Night Wars and things like that, that's what you're gonna get. You're gonna get each side taking shots at each other. MJF last night directly looked square in the camera and said, "We're in a ratings war, and that's why you have me out here." Like, right. So, and 2 weeks in a row now, NXT has won. Now, AEW closed the gap a little more this week. But, like, guess what? Like,
but what about the key metrics?
Yeah, I love that Alvarez dropped the rating numbers. Then he dropped that AEW still won in the primary demographic. And then he followed that with, all right, I'm out of Twitter for a while. Like, what a fucking douche. But, like, here's the thing, man. I love it. Like, I love it. Like, I heard the shit. Like, I heard what he said. And, like, I noticed that even, like, the wrestlers at ringside, nobody really reacted when he said it. Like, when MJF took the, said the ratings war thing, people cheered. When MJF took the, said it about Jungle Boy, he's like, you should be counting your dad's money in L.A., people kind of went, whoa. Nobody reacted to Taz, which tells me nobody knew that was coming. But I loved it. Like, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I loved what Taz said.
Isn't it all fair in love and war? I mean, let's bring that shit on. What do you expect it's going to be? You take pot shots. I do it with you, Jim. You're a Cowboys fan. We take shots at each other for that. Doesn't mean we don't like each other.
Exactly.
Doesn't mean, we don't meet each other on other levels. It's rivalry, and it's a great, absolutely bring it on. I want all of the pot shots.
Yeah, 100%.
All of them.
Yeah, I mean, there's no issues with it. It has to go both ways. So, I mean, coming from Taz versus coming from Triple H, two very different scenarios. But at the same time, I'm always
go Kobe.
Yeah, it's and like that's what it's supposed to be. Like and I also think that today's landscape is a lot different than it was when it was WCW versus WWE, because like WWE at this point they're not gonna buy out AEW. I think we even said before on this show, AEW is gonna last as long as Tony Khan wants to fund it. Because that's the thing, they are business people, and if AEW starts to not make money, they're gonna cut it loose, because they're not wrestling people, they're business people. The WWE, that's why they're always gonna keep striving to stay in business and stay on top of business. And like the articles this week, well, Vince McMahon wants to be the first one to be back with fans. Shouldn't everybody want to be like? Shouldn't every company want to be the first one back with fans? You don't want to do it unsafely, but live gates make you money. Whether you're a concert, whether you're a theater, whether you're a wrestling company, whether you're a sports league, that's where a lot of you're seeing minor league sports across, all sports canceling. The hockey canceled. Baseball announced this week they canceled. Why? Because minor league sports, they make money at the gate. That's how the leagues make money. So every company should want to be the first one with people. But again, you want to do it safely, because WWE tentatively had dates scheduled at a venue in Florida the end of this month. Those have reportedly been scrapped or moved because it's not going to be safe in 3.5 weeks to put even a couple of thousand people in an arena. So, it's funny how the news that Vince wanted to run those shows got a lot of play on social media. The ones about it being moved or postponed didn't get the same level. Speaking of shows that are being moved or changed, obviously because
Alvarez got off Twitter, you said. That's probably why. So we just took a break then again, too.
the two shows that are kind of in play because of all of this. SummerSlam. It was supposed to be in Boston. The mayor of Boston back in, I think it was in March. I don't remember. I have no concept of time anymore.
Yeah.
But at some point, he said no large gatherings until September. So SummerSlam is in August. That's not, that's before September. So from the Twitter account WrestleVotes tweeted yesterday, quote, recently asked for an update on SummerSlam. Source 2 or 3 weeks ago had said they were certain WWE would find a way to do it with an audience. Today, very much unsure. As badly as they don't want the event to be at the Performance Center, that is very much on the table. Decision not yet imminent. So, obviously, SummerSlam is the second or third week of August, weekend of August. And therefore, at this point, if I were a betting man, I would bet on SummerSlam being at the Performance Center
I think that's
the majority majority of the matches. Now Charlie just sent a thing, breaking news. Now I gotta find the I have not vetted this, but WWE officially has purchased Evolve Wrestling.
Ooh.
38 minutes ago. Here we go. 38 minutes ago, PW Insider, wrestling from Mike Johnson, PW Insider. World Wrestling Entertainment has officially acquired ownership of the Gabe Sapolsky Evolve promotion. PW Insider has confirmed it has long been the flagship promotion of Sai Hamamoi's company, World Wrestling Network, WWN. The deal was closed after several months of negotiations. While there were rumors making the rounds that Evolve had been sold to WWE, nothing had been finalized until recently. So WWE, thank you, Charlie, for that one. WWE looks to have purchased Evolve Wrestling, which I know we had talked about that a couple of weeks ago, that it looked like it was going that way, but it looks like it is now official.
The library's probably worth it alone. There's a lot
Sure.
of guys. And I think, back in 15, 16, they struck a deal to let the WWE, scout their talent, sort of
well,
thing.
Well, isn't Austin Theory had come through there, I
Theory
believe?
was an Evolve guy, yeah.
And there's some others, and yeah, I mean, it's Tape Library. I know they aired the 10th anniversary show that went head to head with an AEW pay-per-view that got people all up in arms or what have you. But yeah, so okay, looks at that. So yeah, I mean, SummerSlam more than likely. Like I said, my guess is going to be at the Performance Center. Maybe they'll throw a cinematic match or two in there. Maybe they'll do something on the roof of headquarters for a match or two. I don't know. I'm sure they'll figure something out. They've done creative things here over the last couple months. And WrestlingNews.co reports that WWE still has hopes of having a Hall of Fame ceremony during SummerSlam weekend. Obviously, that was bumped from WrestleMania weekend because of everything. It's, quote, very possible the ceremony may take place the weekend of SummerSlam. It depends on many factors, including travel restrictions, COVID-19 rules and regulations imposed by the government. It has not been canceled for good, the Hall of Fame ceremony. There are people in the company who feel it won't need to happen inside the Performance Center. I mean, here's the thing, and I know, like the Bella Twins, they are both very pregnant at this point. So moving them around the country doesn't seem to be the most safe thing to do right now. But here's the thing. I mean, we American Idol, I know, did their show via online record, like the recordings. I'm sure America's Got Talent's going to be in the same boat. I think you can do the Hall of Fame ceremony with people recording their speeches from home. If you're that intent on doing the, if you want to bring in some people to the PC or to headquarters or something like that, you can. But I mean, you can still do it. You could do it SummerSlam weekend, air it on USA, air it on the network, whatever. But you don't. It's not something that you necessarily have to do in a venue with fans. And let's be honest, it's sometimes the fans kind of take over these ceremonies anyway. So maybe this is a silver lining, blessing in disguise sort of a thing.
Now I think you got to have the fans present. I mean, I get what you're saying, but I don't know. I guess you could do it. You can do it. Yeah. Here's your award. I got it at the USPS or wherever.
I mean, if you're that intent on having it this year as opposed to rolling it over.
Yeah, that's fair. You'll probably do it without fans then if you have to have it this year.
Right, because otherwise, you're just going to bump this class to next year, and then do you do a bigger class, or do you have one class inducted on Raw, one inducted on Raw, one on SmackDown? Like, I don't know. Like, because if
you hold it to next year, you could do WrestleMania and SummerSlam.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do that, just do SummerSlam this year and do it.
Or do,
over
if
Skype,
maybe
whatever.
we can do shows with crowds by Survivor Series or by Royal Rumble. So maybe hold this, the 2020 class goes in Royal Rumble weekend, and then the next class, and maybe you pull the trigger on the Undertaker next WrestleMania, and just do the Undertaker next WrestleMania, so you don't have to. Right. But yeah, it's all going to be dependent on what exactly happens with this fucking pandemic too. Because we thought, maybe by June we'll be okay, maybe by July we'll be okay, maybe by 2027 we'll be fine. But any other thoughts on any of the stuff around the pandemic? It was a fucked up couple of weeks, and also too, and I was going to mention more about it last week. Obviously, the speaking out movement over the past few weeks has really taken a thing, and like this is my statement on it for the people that have shared their stories and they felt ready to share their stories. The victims who have shared their stories, we stand with you. The things that have happened to you are not okay. So, and for the victims that are out there that haven't shared their stories, we also stand with you. Like, nobody should be forced to share their story. No, there's nobody that should be outing somebody else's story as well. So when people are ready, they can tell their story. It's their story to tell. But I didn't want to go this week without talking about this stuff with the pandemic and talking about the speaking out thing, because there's a lot. We use this as entertainment, and wrestling is kind of an escape. But unfortunately, sometimes wrestling and reality meet head on, and we can't ignore it either.
Yeah, I agree, and I think I could speak for almost everybody when you can lump the COVID pandemic with predators and rapists and it's ruining professional wrestling, and the world would be a lot better without them.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, just following along everything. I know it's tough for some people to see, wrestlers that they love, wrestlers they admire being called out on this, and of course that's going to be tough. But even if you don't believe it, even if you think it's a lie, the last thing that you need to do is just like be vocal, be nasty about it, like let the stories be told. We need to start taking people at their word, because a lot of these stories just get pushed aside. It's been happening for far too long, and it's unfortunate. So, I get it. It is unfortunate that a lot of wrestlers that, I enjoyed watching in the ring, hearing these stories about them, it's tough to see, but at the same time, I mean, we can't just keep looking past all of this stuff. You finally have to start listening, start believing it, and stop supporting the people that are doing shitty things. As tough as it may be for you to believe or understand or grasp, if they're doing these shitty things, from what I'm seeing online, these stories being told that the victims are the ones being attacked. So it's not like, what is them coming out telling these stories doing for them? They're not getting money, they're not getting fame, they're getting just more verbal abuse. So,
Right.
there's no reward for them to come out and do this. So it's time we finally just start believing.
Yeah, and I know from us. I mean, unfortunately, some of the people who have been outed as awful people and predators are people we've had on this show, and we've gone back through the history of our show, and we've removed episodes from our podcast feed that we've had on here. And it sucks because it's our very first interview that we ever had on this show turned out to be a real piece of shit, and
Sure did.
and it sucks, and so it when things start coming out, this isn't okay. Like the thought was like, well, do we leave them there because we didn't know at the time? But I don't want that associated with us.
Right.
So we did what we felt we should do, and those are no longer on our feed.
It was our first guest's goal to unionize the professional wrestling business and bring good brothers and sisters together, and it's the irony of him being the catalyst in a lot of this, and bringing a lot of good brothers and sisters together on the other end.
Right.
Not how he ever intended or wanting to bring wrestlers together, but absolutely did. And I think,
careful what you wish
like I
for.
said, on the other end, on the other side of this, you're going to be left with a lot of good, honest, hardworking, good brothers, good sisters, and then the professional wrestling, especially on the independent scene, will be better for getting rid of the trash and plotting forward in a much more inclusive way than we've ever said before. And I personally can't wait for COVID to be over and to enjoy that sense of family that you get from an independent locker room and independent wrestling fans and just the closeness that we get. So it's going to be great to know that some of the trash was removed, not all of it yet, but I truthfully believe their time will come.
Yeah, because I think too,
we're going to be better off.
Yeah, I think too, coming out of this, I think people are going to hopefully, and then not everybody, unfortunately, because there's still going to be bad situations. But I think the hope is that the people who are dealing with terrible people in our industry will feel more comfortable speaking up and speaking out, and people will listen to them, and there'll be more advocates for especially female talent on every show. That would be great, and things like that. So hopefully coming out of this, the business will be better, because that, it's obviously something that needs to be better. So hopefully it will be coming out of this.